Keep stopping. Do 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 do. Okay, take it over. I keep stopping. Sing it, Kevin.
And here we are on the Van Allen's attic. Here we go.
And we get on the Brooklyn Bridge and take the elevated railroad and take it out to Coney Island and get on the roller coaster.
Yes, so wonderful.
That's a croaker, by the way.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that fish to start singing. Oh!
I think we got more music. Yeah. Wait a minute. I gotta get it in.
Okay. Someone wants to see it.
Huh?
Nobody wants to see this.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your fingernail.
I tell you what was great about the year 2020 is I broke my habit of touching my face all the time.
I thought you were going to say touching yourself. It's a habit nobody wants to break.
There we go.
And I don't want to trip over the cord.
Yeah, we're all lined up.
Hey, and you can see the keyboard.
Yes.
Come on. Be sure and watch Trog starring Joan Crawford, and we will have a lot of fun this night.
Hey!
All right. I posted Trog with Joan Crawford on my page. Check it out.
Yes.
Oh, that thing is still going. We can fade it. We can fade it.
If this show takes off, we should have like a
Takes off. What is it? An airplane?
A line of Jack in the Boxes with that music on.
Yeah. Well, we got the rights. We're the right to do it right. We're dead to rights. My case came to court and they killed me. And the judge had a big hammer and it was like the Three Stooges. I'm dead. I'm dead to rights. Where do we get these expressions in the English?
There's in
American language.
Etymology. You just go to any phrase book and you'll find why a lot of things are called the way they are.
I've got one.
Yeah.
I got Chapman's Slang Dictionary downstairs.
I love slang.
I love etymology.
Yeah, I used to like
whether it's about bugs or words, either way.
That's entomology.
But they gotta make it so confusing. They gotta make it so hard. Not so hard. Not so Joe Besser.
They should rename it insectology.
Insectivology. Yeah. Or James Arnessovology. You have those big giant ants, you know. Them are very good.
He also played a giant carrot in.
That's right.
In The Thing.
Yeah.
we have a special celebrity guest. The Thing from another world.
Festus, you're gonna make me a cup of coffee here, Festus. God darn it, Matthew, I certainly am. I'm going to make you the best doggonest cup of coffee there ever was in the city of Dodge. Right here. Well, I'll believe it when I see it, Festus. And then came the rabbit.
Then came the night of the lupus.
The giant, the night of the lupus, yes.
I almost said that.
This guy looks like one of those voodoo doctors.
Yes.
He looks like bum 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 bum, my friend, the witch doctor. He told me what to say, bum 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 bum. Friend, the witch doctor told me what to do. I know that you've been mine when I say this to you, oh baby. You know, I always wondered What is a you be mine?
You be mine?
I know the you be mine when I say this to you, old baby. It's you'll be mine.
You'll be mine.
But
yeah,
I don't know if you had it, but I had a lot of trouble with pop rock song lyrics growing up.
Yeah.
You'd say, what did he say? And I thought you be mine was either a mine where you mine Ubies, or it was a secret ritual. I know you be mine.
You know what I was messed up on when I was a kid?
We know that.
There was a song.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
And guess what?
You're reiterating old material.
What happened was there was a song by Kenny Rogers called Lucille.
Kenny, I want your chicken, Kenny. Okay.
He had a song called.
You picked a fine time to leave me, loose wheel.
No, that wasn't the part. That wasn't the part that messed me up. The part was you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille, and then the second was 400 children and crops in the field. So 400 children, that's a lot. 4 hungry children. That made more sense.
The one I had trouble with was blinded by the light. Yes. Wrapped up in a douche Motorola in the night. What's a douche Motorola? Could you get those on sale at Sears? They did everything.
Like the tools. The tools
they played DVD. They played VHS, and you took it to the bathroom.
Did you ever hear the Bruce Springsteen version of "Blinded by the Light"?
No, I'm not sure I want to, but blinded by the light.
He wrote the song.
Wrapped up in a douche Motorola in the night. Daddy, can I get a douche Motorola? Shut up, kid. But it was on the radio.
He sings his version on, I think, that album, The Seeger Sessions, where he sings a tribute to Pete Seeger. He sings all these old songs like the Erie Canal. But then he also, when he does the concert, he sings Blinded by the Light and a few other songs in a different way.
I got an old children's record of Almighty Paul Bunyan. He lived long ago. His strength and his goodness and goodness and good. Well, mine has a Mine has that's the way I learned it. Has a scratch.
Playing your belly button here. I see.
Yes. If I play the air belly button. Now, when you get the right kind of lint, you get a certain
resonance.
It's a great filter.
Now, I had those same records, 78. I was talking on another show.
I'm going down in the basement.
There were these yellow records of children's songs that were 78s, and they were great.
Yeah, I love those too.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, and but they were. I found out years later that a lot of them were like lousy versions of the studio versions that were more popular.
It's rabbit.
My mom got me a 78 of Over the Rainbow.
It's too ambitious in show business.
And it was a man singing. It wasn't like Dorothy. It wasn't Judy.
What was this?
It was a man. It was a 75.
What?
Over the Rainbow.
Oh my God!
And it sounded like the Tin Man singing it.
Somewhere
No, it was like the Jack Haley.
Over the rainbow, Tim waits with his piano.
Yeah. Well, that would have been something. That would have freaked out any child listening to that.
I can play that pretty good on trumpet.
Yes.
And I sound like Dr. Phibes. You know?
Yeah.
And he floats away.
That was great.
I'm not doing anything yet.
Can you play the theme?
Oh, you don't mean that theme. That's a Billy Jack.
That's right, One Tin Soldier. You know what I really like? I appear on a lot of shows lately, and what I like most about this show is that it's the only show that has a theme.
Yes. The theme is insanity. The basic theme is insanity. Yes.
When I was a kid...
Yes, my little buck-tooth pal. You wanted to iterate something? You wanted to make a comment upon humanity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Jim Backus, there was when he did the Mr. Magoo. I found out there were two versions of every cartoon. One that most people saw, and the other was for the military that they showed overseas, where it had cursing and Mr. Magoo and I heard about this.
This I got to find.
He talked about it on I think the Merv Griffin show. Yeah.
Whoa! I didn't know Mr. Magoo. Oh, Magoo, can it begin? Oh, little old ladies. Oh my God, the possibilities are endless. What am I going to do with this lamppost?
But you know. Yeah, but actually, if you see, there was Warner Brothers cartoons that were made during the war. Private
Snafu.
Snafu.
Yeah, Chuck Jones.
A lot of cursing in those. So for the time, from early 40s.
They're kind of a little bit racy. The ones you find now, I don't think they have curse words, but they probably do.
They say hell.
But yeah,
hell and darn.
Yeah, and they have women with. Great big
arthritis
bombs.
Oh,
with swastikas.
Oh yeah.
Be careful, soldiers. You soldiers out there, you might run into a woman with bombs down her boobs.
Loose lips, sink ships was basically the theme of every one of those private Snafu cartoons.
Yeah, I could. If I had my drawing thing, I could draw you what he looked like, but he kind of looked like this, and a nose like this, and a nose like that, and wah 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 wah, and private Snafu.
Yeah, always messed up.
Yeah, the situation normal, all fouled up. Yes. Dad, I first heard about that term from Dad because my dad was in World War II and had a lot of stories, as I guess your dad did.
Oh yeah.
Your dad saw action,
so
his stories were probably a little more dramatic or down to. My dad never got sent overseas, so he had a big high old time doing comedy and practical jokes, and
he kept the Jersey safe,
playing golf. Yeah, he was out in the desert in Arizona playing.
He kept Arizona safe.
Yeah, and Florida.
But you know.
But he did almost get shot in half by a machine gun.
You can.
He was working on a B-17. The guy, he was walking by the turret underneath the B-17. They had these machine guns, and Dad walked right by it, and the guy was in there working on it, and went pop pop pop, and it blew his coattails. I just came that close to the DNA being spilled on the tarmac.
That's always the case.
And then another time he was up inside cleaning out a light bulb fixture in the top of the B-17.
Yeah.
I got tape of him in an actual B-17 telling these stories. It was a lot of fun. He was good. Anyway, he was up there with alcohol cleaning out a light fixture in that little turret, and somehow it caught fire.
Oh, yeah.
And it went whoosh, and he came down there, like... spruce juice, whatever.
The spruce juice?
Yeah.
No, prune juice.
Prune juice. Yeah. Anyway, he
I was afraid he didn't get
burned, but he almost did. Yeah.
But
your dad saw action in the European theater.
Germany, and he was at the Battle of Bulge. Let me tell you something about my dad.
I had a cousin who got killed there.
Yeah, it was terrible. It's a terrible war. It's really wild. I found out just recently that my dad has never gotten a passport. He's never been overseas for fun. And he's been all over America.
You don't have to have a passport in the military.
In the military, he was sent to Europe, and he saw France and England and Germany. And I said to him, how come you never had the urge to go to places all over the world? And he told me, he said, well, I was in Europe once, and I wasn't too impressed with that place. And I said, yeah, they were shooting at you, that's why. Anytime you go somewhere the people are shooting at you, you're gonna. He already bought
that real estate.
I'll stay in America.
Right in it. I had a cousin. Well, actually, it was my cousin's husband. Real cool guy, Lynn Peters. His son, my cousin, is still living. But Lynn, he actually landed at D-Day on Normandy Beach. He landed several times, not once, but several times. The reason was, those boats that took the troops and they dropped. He operated one of those boats.
Yeah.
So he'd have to dump them and go back, pick up some more, dump them, and go back. So imagine that.
Terror raising.
Yeah.
Doing it one time.
He didn't get hit, but a boat right beside him the whole thing got blown over the water.
Yeah.
And he never. It's hard to get those guys to really talk about.
No.
I heard it more from his wife and his son.
Yeah.
But he did get a great recipe for wassail. He loved hanging around the English, and you've heard of wassail at Christmas time?
Oh, the Christmas drink.
Yeah. And I learned about wassail from him, and he had a great recipe, and he'd make it every Christmas, and they'd put a.
What does it taste like?
Well,
I'm not sure I ever had it.
Well,
I've had everything.
It's kind of like really interesting apple cider with cinnamon in it.
Oh, okay.
Cooked hot. It's great, and it does something to your throat. It's good. It's really good.
No alcohol.
Yeah. No.
No alcohol.
No, we're a teetotaling family. My grandfather drank.
Same here.
My grandfather drank for all of us.
There's always one person to think.
Yeah, the famous architect.
Drinks for the rest of us.
The famous architect D. Wally Anderson liked his whiskey.
Yes.
And but it didn't interfere his work. I mean, he could crank out those designs, but he did drink and go on a few binges. And he had a friend, a judge in Richmond. Yeah. Judge. My cousin told me.
Judge Roy.
No. It was a real. Yeah. No, it was a real old Richmond name. Judge Diabney. You got to pronounce it right. The Richmond accent. Diabney. Judge Diabney. They go out and have a toot together and be drinking buddies.
and then. But then when you're in his courtroom, said, "Hey, all that fun we had last night, it makes no difference."
Yeah.
Where's the court of law?
In his defense, I think he drank more in the 20s after his son was killed in World War I. His son was going to take over the business, and he went over to World War I and got in the Battle of Verdun. Yeah. And got machine gunned by the worst machine gunning in history, they say.
That was a terrible war, the World War I, because a lot of those technology just made its way in there so bad in World War I.
First time they're doing all the mustard gas and
mustard gas. They actually pretty much banned gassing in wartime against all over the world. That's why we look down on anyone who says you're not playing this war fair and square.
Another one of my relatives I found out about later. He's one of the Native American group that was split off from our family that we didn't know about until recently. Anyway, he had mustard gas poisoning, but he did live into the 50s. I mean, he had an extended life. But,
one of the best movies I saw last year was the one that Peter Jackson made, where he took all that, they had something like 100 hours of English film, of silent film, and he got it down to maybe less than 2 hours, and then used 3D and colorization and dubbing of voices and everything, and narration of soldiers from 1970s that were still alive, narrating what was going on.
Yeah, these big directors finally get around to actually using that old footage, like our film teacher told us to do, because it's free from the United States government. I mean, you have rights. Yeah, so you got to pay for making prints or whatever.
I'm not going to guess at the name of the song of the movie. I'll just put it in the comments. But it was quite the experience to see this. It was 100 years ago in I think 2018 when it came out. It was they shall be young or something.
Yeah.
What I like about the theme, when I was a kid, all the only music I knew were themes. The Batman theme.
It's a long way to Tipperary. Just how long? Do you know how much energy it takes to tip a rarity? Have you ever tried to tip a rarity? They're very big. Tipperary. It takes a long way.
Never understood that song because I don't remember Ireland ever being in a world war.
That's one of my dad. Oh no, General Timoshenko. You remember that animation of Hitler in the Bob Clampett cartoon?
Yeah.
And Hitler, fantastic animation by Bob McKimson going, "In Früchte unterbrechen Chaoten, free. We're going to bomb in Moscow. We're going to bomb in England. We're going to bomb in that Irish general, Timoshenko." Yeah, Mel Blanc's great moment, Oscar-winning moment, and Bob McKimson. But that's great stuff. And to me, growing up, of course, we kids, post-war kids, to me, Hitler was just this really weird, cool, not so cool, but villain cartoon character.
Yeah.
He was a cartoon character. And he was always a big, mysterious villain with the thing on his...
That's right.
And all that. And it took a while to start finding out, what actually happened. But you grow up with these really neat cartoons.
I tell you what happened. And for up until probably the 1980s, World War II veterans and Holocaust survivors didn't say anything. So Hogan's Heroes and comedy movies like the producers and stuff were very, and then these cartoons that actually came out during the World War II.
Well,
and then people started to hear about this because those
you
people
didn't talk about the bad things of the war. Now, it came out. I guess I was when I became a teenager and I was hanging around the sink with Mom doing the dishes and we were talking, and something came out. Oh yes, the terrible Holocaust. Well, I don't know if they use the word Holocaust, but what they did in the gas chambers and all that. And I go, what? And then she would feel she didn't want to talk about it a lot, but she would feel more free to talk to me about it because I was growing up now. But you don't do it to kids.
You don't talk. And the crazy thing is that when you first hear about this, it's something you can't imagine. Not only that this would happen, but among humans and in our own century. And at the time when we were growing up in the 70s or so, a lot of those guys were still alive. They were in jails. They were still after
the boys from Brazil.
No. But the real life guy, the concentration camp doctor Mengele was still living. Even when they made the movie The Boys from Brazil, he was still alive.
And maybe Hitler was down there. You've seen those shows, but
I remember there was all these theories that Hitler, and when I was growing up in high school, he was still alive.
History Channel,
but he was already 95 years old, and said, he's getting a little older in this thing.
Well, there is some interesting evidence. I was on History Channel, and they looked into it, and they had submarines going down to Argentina, letting off these guys, supposedly Hitler had a train, and they snuck him out of the country. But he
dressed as a woman.
Yeah, and then there's the thing about the Russians finding his teeth. They sort of proved that it was his teeth. You never know. But
the Russians, that's a good point.
He's gone now.
The Russians found
they made a good cartoon character.
The Russians found the bunker. His body was destroyed in a fire.
But
then they said that
they can't prove
they found his testicles, and one of them was missing. He probably only had one. So that's
another rumor.
That's another rumor. And the other thing that's kind of neat is that when we had trouble with Russia,
I'd rather believe that it was part Jewish than it. I didn't hear any complaints from Ava.
1970s. In the 1970s, what happened was these crazy rumors and all. And what was wild was when we had trouble with the Russians, like Brezhnev and people like that, in the 1970s. They said, they're always lying to us. And they said, they may have lied about us about Hitler. And then all those things that he was still alive and living in Argentina.
I did a cartoon about Brezhnev. One of my early political cartoons. Yeah. My dad always wanted me to be a political cartoonist.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing in Richmond, you don't want to get a job in real show business, but it's okay to be a political cartoonist. He wasn't bad, but he was a cartoonist.
You don't see those anymore.
But he was kind of pushing me to do that, and he got me a meeting with Jeff McNally, and I got to be friends with Jeff McNally.
There you go.
And he liked my stuff. And I went in there to the paper. He was a little bit older than me, and I showed him. I had a cartoon full of a bunch of crazy birds, just a whole page full of birds. He said, I'm thinking about doing a strip about birds. And then later on he did.
Yeah.
Shoo.
Shoo.
Yeah. Shoo.
And Shoo was the characters in Shoe were based on the Mastiff of the Richmond Times-Dispatch.
Characters he worked with.
Yeah.
I'd like to know who that guy that with the messy desk was. You know?
Yeah, I'm sure. Sure, he's well known around here. Jeff McNally in his career, was Chicago Tribune or something? And Bob Brookins took over here, and he was good too. And he actually took over Shoe when Jeff McNally died. Yeah,
there weren't very many jobs for cartoonists over there. I went over there at one point when I came back to Richmond, and I wanted to find more of a steady, easier job down close to home. And I went over there, and what happened to me a lot of times, you'd go in there and you show your stuff, and everybody's, come here, gather around.
Yes.
Brooklyn said, come here, look at all this stuff. Wow, look at this guy. Hey, and everybody was saying, pat me on the back. It was great stuff. You have a job? Well, there aren't any jobs really.
No.
And you have to wear more than one hat.
They're very pleased with what you do, but then I need money. I need to eat.
But sometimes
by tomorrow.
But sometimes offers for jobs would come out of the blue, and one interesting one that happened to me was, and I really wish it had come through, was designing toys for Hasbro toys.
Yes.
This guy called me out of the blue. I don't know who referred me to him, but I'm a very good designer, and I always wanted to get into that. And I thought, oh boy, and I could do maybe rubber toys. I always wanted, if I got my feature films going, I had plans for rubber toys of some of the characters. That's a natural thing to do. But anyway, the
pets loved rubber toys. Did they make a noise?
This one used to.
These are
very. Hey, celeries will talk. Yes.
Celery stalks at midnight.
I posted a episode of Lost in Space the other night. You have to check it out.
Okay.
Where the Great Vegetable Rebellion.
That's right.
With Jonathan Harris turns into a celery.
That's right.
Ooh, don't bother me. I'm so happy. He was happy for the first time in his life. He's turning into a celery. Oh, Will, don't touch me. But
ooh, the pain.
These things are strange. I don't know where these are good designs, but they're weird designs.
Yeah.
And I've tried to find out if they were English or made for some TV show overseas, but I've never found out. But I like them. I got them in a flea market.
Oh.
And something else I found there. This is
this is something.
This is what fame will do to you as a cartoon designer.
Yes.
That's a Care Bears glass with one of my drawings, actually.
He did that.
Well, no, they took one of my animation drawings from the show and traced it on and made it.
Yeah.
Or,
Very
copied.
Good.
Anyway, so that's
the Bears that care.
Moment of fame, and I found it in a flea market. You never know.
Keep that away from him. I'm always afraid I'm going to break this glass.
Right,
that I get at the fast food place.
They're very make a ring of it.
We are the Care Bears. It's very hard to keep those.
It's an amazing technology.
It's very hard to keep those glasses intact. That's why they're collector's.
Well,
because the glass is almost like crystal. They just shatter pretty easily.
Cheap glass. I put it up on a shelf.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Hasbro story. The guy called me out of the blue. Said, we're interested in you being a designer on a new project for Hasbro. Oh, wow. Yeah, great. And so I'm talking to this guy. It almost looks like it's a surefire thing. They like my stuff. And then I'm calling back, or I sent them something in the mail, and somebody called me back. And it was the office of the president of Bermuda. Bermuda. They have a capital there. Yeah. There's a little building. And they called me. We have your package about Hasbro toys. Yeah. Oh, no. Send it back. I forgot what happened, but it was really strange. And the guy that wanted to hire me for Hasbro toys, he said, "Oh, the project fell through."
No.
They wanted me, but the project didn't.
Do you have any other toys I could design?
Didn't find continuance.
Maybe something for girls or teenagers or something.
We could get into trouble.
I mean anything.
But anyway,
a man designed the Barbie doll. That's not such a big deal.
Well, in industry, It's who you know or who you're talking to or who you're connected with. And he was involved with that project. Yeah. And then the project got dropped. So there was no...
Do you remember what it was?
No, never got to find out.
I mean, it was all a secret. To you.
Well, we would have gotten into that.
Yeah.
But before it could get off and we could take a meeting, as it were.
Yeah.
Or show him... He could tell me what they're looking for, and I could throw him some design, whatever. It got dropped. And the only people that knew about it was the president of Bermuda.
He's wearing the Bermuda shorts, and eating a Bermuda onion while he was talking.
You know what Bermuda also was connected with was Shakespeare's play The Tempest.
Yes.
He wrote that based on information he got from the Earl of Southampton or whoever. Shakespeare was kind of he was very successful for what he was doing there, and he got inside information about early explorations of Bermuda, and he got the idea for writing The Tempest based on that.
Yes, it's the stuff that dreams are made of.
The stuff that dreams.
That's where that comes. It comes from The Tempest. It also was in Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, I thought that.
Yeah, that's the same phrase. The same phrase.
Stuff that dreams are made of. Yeah, see if we can sell the dingus. Mr. Spade, give me the dingus. Hey, we will go. Come, Joel. You come, Joel, Cairo. Let's go to Istanbul and see if we can sell this dingus.
I don't think we should do that.
Don't. I want to come.
I'm Mr. Moto. When I go to Japan, I'm Mr. Moto. But when I'm in America...
Yes, but I am directing everybody. I am John Huston. Yes. Please.
The birds are fake.
Yes.
Birds are fake.
Yeah, the birds are fake. It's a fake. It's a fake.
Who needs TCM?
Hey,
you got us.
I've got somewhere around here.
Yeah.
I've got an original copy of the Maltese Falcon.
Yes.
While we're talking about it,
yeah.
I think I do.
Raymond Chandler?
No,
Dashiell Hammett.
Dashiell Hammett.
That's right. Well, I should have known that.
Is this? No, that's not it.
What actor won an Oscar for playing Dashiell Hammett in a movie?
Treasure Island. That's another good one.
That was my favorite book as a kid. Yeah.
But I moved my library around.
You know what actor played Dashiell Hammett and won an Oscar? You would know that. Yeah, Jason Robards in the movie Julia was married to Lillian Hellman, who Jane Fonda played. And that was a good movie.
They were married. I know Lillian Hellman.
But I mean, in the movie, it's a true story. They were married, but Jane Fonda didn't win the Oscar.
Lillian Hellman was married to Dashiell Hammett.
But Jason Robards won the Oscar for playing Dashiell Hammett in that movie. Yes.
And Jason the movie is what?
Julia.
Yeah.
It's more famous for having Vanessa Redgrave win an Oscar for it playing Julia causing all that trouble.
That was also a TV show with
Diane
Carroll.
It's not about
and Dr. Chumley.
It's not about a African American nurse and her child.
It's about Dr. Chumley.
It's actually a story about World War II. Maximilian Schell's in the movie.
Maybe I did not see it. I don't think I saw that. But I love Jason.
It's Meryl Streep's first movie.
I love Jason Robards. It's like watching him is like watching 1,000 clowns.
Oh, he was so good in that.
That's a good movie. And Barbara Harris. Why wasn't Barbara Harris used more? I think she was more addicted to stage, but she's such a good actress.
Yeah.
But appeared in only a fairly few movies.
Hitchcock's Last Heroine.
Yeah, that's right.
She was in Freaky Friday with Jodie.
Yeah.
The Disney film.
She had that little way about her.
She was great.
Yeah.
She just died last year.
I love Barbara Harris.
Barbara Harris, yeah. And
whatever happened.
Yeah. And we were talking about a movie. We were talking about the movies of
That's for Barbara Harris.
We were talking about a movie the other day, The Party.
Oh yeah.
Peter Sellers, you know, from the Kubrick stuff.
Birdie Num Num. Birdie Num Num.
That's what everyone remembers. He was in the Doctor Strange up in Lolita, and he was also in all the Pink Panther movies. But people forget the party was so
Speaking
good.
of which is Birdie Num Num.
Birdie
Num Num. Birdie Num Num. This is. Let me tell you an exact little story. This little birdie, by great coincidence, is an exact replica of the parrot that is in the Birdie Num Num scene in the party, and he's trying to feed the bird some num 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 num, and he talks on the speaker, and he drops the num nums. Oh, it's just very hilarious. You must see this movie. It is a masterpiece of the comic legerdemain, if that is the correct word.
It's a throwback to like the old silent movies where just one set piece after another, and it just gets funnier and funnier.
Yeah, one thing.
Not really much of a plot, just laugh at it.
You just take a very posh Hollywood party and put Peter Sellers in the middle of it.
Playing an Indian. We're doing the Indian voice.
People
don't do so much anymore.
He speaks Hindustani.
Yes.
And oh yes,
he did it so well.
You must wash the elephant. The elephant is a symbol of my country. It is an offense to the elephant to paint all these crazy hippy dippy sayings all over his person. Yes, we paint them in India, but not this. They know the elephant. They know. Wash the elephant. Wash it. And so they get him in the pool.
Yeah.
And I posted it not too long ago, about a week ago. And the soap suds are everywhere, getting bigger and bigger, and the jazz combo is just, and the soap is going past the bass fiddle, and oh man,
Blake Edwards made the film.
Yeah. And this was before
Gavin MacLeod is in it.
This is where the the Pink Panther kind of comedy shtick with Sellers got started.
Got kind of
Yeah, you can see that.
Derived from there. Yeah,
it's very funny.
Oh yeah.
If you like Sellers as the Pink Panther, you'll love this movie.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the he made like 100 films, and only about 10 of them are great films, but the other 90 are good because he's
hello to the num num.
Num num. Birdie num nums. Oh wow!
That's made of cardboard. Don't worry.
The real House of Cards on it.
Yeah.
You should wear that bird on your shoulder like Long John Silver.
I painted that bird.
Yes. The painted bird.
I used to collect these bird models when I was a kid and paint them, and I have a few of them left.
I used to build stuff a lot more so as an adult. I mean, I used to build. I used to have cars and model airplanes. And now, birds. I had like Frankenstein, Monster, the Aurora.
Oh,
you remember those? Yeah.
You mean the Forey Ackerson stuff? Like,
it might have been.
Well, they get sold in Forey Ackerson's magazine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Advertised.
It was stuff you'd buy at a store. But the stuff. But
Forey Ackerson was into all that.
In the magazines, though, they would sell the worst junk, like a 7-foot-high Frankenstein. He said, "How for $1?" He said, "What is this thing?" So then you'd mail away for it, and you'd get this sheet of plastic with Frankenstein painted on it that wasn't even worth $1.
Well,
$1 was worth more.
It was like those giant rocket ships that you'd buy in a comic book.
Yeah,
it's big, 6 feet long. And it's printed on newsprint. I
bought all that stuff, and it taught me the value of money because as I grow up, I spend it very carefully now because I bought all these things to put in my mouth. Ventriloquism made easy. Let me tell you something. Ventriloquism is not made easy.
He kept those comic books alive.
There's also a fake cast.
Another order from Kevin.
A fake cast, a bloody finger. All this great.
Yeah, that's a card I gave to my dad when he was in his old age and stroke victim. But he enjoyed that. That's a nice card. Yeah.
Every card is good, but if you can make the card a little fancy.
Well, this one's like extremely well designed. I kept it. It's like a work of art.
It did something, yeah.
There's a lot of works of art in commercial art, if you look for them, and in the 60s and especially. But I mean, going way back, like Rembrandt was a commercial artist. I mean, a lot of his paintings he was done for money, a lot of them he did just for himself, but I mean, just because somebody's doing commercial art doesn't mean they're good. They're usually the best artists around. They have to.
They are. They're making a living at it.
Yeah.
Remember the Dutch Masters?
Yeah. On the box.
On the cigar box. Yeah. You know the story about that painting? The painting, they did not like the way they were portrayed in that painting, and they refused to pay for it. And
I think you're thinking about the Night Watch.
Well, no, I'm talking about.
There was more of a. Well, they say there was a controversy about the Night Watch, but the thing was, I don't think it was a problem with the syndics of the Drapers Guild, which is the name of that painting. They were cloth merchants. Yeah. That's why they're holding a rug.
Yeah.
There's a rug in the picture. If you notice, there's a beautiful rug. They're kind of holding it. We make rugs.
But I like the idea that if they
were all perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
But back in those days, Rembrandt was the first one to try to put some drama and make it more of a real painting, like the Night Watch, which was one of those paintings. And each one it was kind of like the, not the National Guard, but the, what do you call it? American Legion. It was the Dutch version of the American
veterans.
Yeah, well, they'd get together and they'd go out and march and gonna have a beer, and they might shoot off a musket, But they're kind of the Night Watch of these local people in the town, and they would get together and have fun. But the ones with the most money, pay the most of the picture, would get a more prominent part of the picture. Now, old Franz Hals, who was another great painter of the time, and he put them all kind of equally. He was a great painter, but he didn't try to do what Rembrandt did, which was that put it at a dramatic moment. Now, some of the people in the painting are half covered up, and I don't know if they were paying customers or not. And it's a strange little, almost a dwarf woman or a little girl carrying a dead chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, how she got it. But it's fascinating. It's a great painting.
I tell you, though.
But there was supposedly a controversy about that.
But I know that they better have enjoyed that painting because it wound up 500 years later on every cigar box.
Yeah. Well, that thing is huge. I'd love to go see it. But somebody tried to destroy it not too many years ago.
Vandal?
Yeah, but they didn't do much.
Yeah.
They didn't do much. And there was another big painting he did, which got cut down, which was like about the early history of Holland, where this early king with one eye, and they're making an oath about how they were going to take over fight the whoever's and form Holland or whatever they battle. And it was a huge painting, but there was a problem with they didn't like it or whatever, and they salvaged it they cut out and now it's cut down to the middle.
Oh yeah.
So it was all kinds of things that the artist had to deal with.
My problem with Rembrandt is every time I go see him in the museum, his paintings, they're too dark.
Well, if you light them correctly, right. I don't like the modern lighting, but now there was one in the Virginia Museum which they claimed for many years was a Rembrandt, and then they unclaimed it.
Yeah.
They said it was some student of his, but I don't know. That thing was really well done. I still tend to think it was supposedly his daughter, Lisbeth Van Ryn. Yeah. Van Ryn was his last name.
Yeah.
Van Ryn. Van Ryn of the Rhine or something. Van Ridgen.
Yeah.
R-I-G-N.
Yeah.
Don't get me on art.
Yeah. That's your...
I studied that stuff. I studied that stuff a long time. Yeah, and I can tell you all about North Carolina art and Southern Richmond art, and also Rembrandt. And a whole bunch of stuff. No, we studied. I highly recommend studying art history to anyone who wants to study the history of the world, because you learn more about it.
Yes.
You learn the essence of what those times were like instead of just memorizing a bunch of dates and stuff. I mean, you feel like you're back there.
Yeah.
You learn about it.
I just loved those books of art when I was a kid, and I would just pore over them. I saw that they were in famous museums like the Louvre and the Tate Gallery and stuff, and I said, "Well, what's so great about that? I have it in the book." And then my dad said, You want to know why they put the name of the museum there? Because what you have is a copy. You go there, you get a real one. You get to see it in all its glory. And I said,
so your dad,
then I better go to those places and see it.
Your dad actually did see something in Europe. But did you,
well, he told me about
when you poured over it, did the pages get all wrinkly? And
yeah.
Poured orange
I eat my breakfast over.
Poured orange, yeah.
No, actually, I treated them very, very well.
I got into it through the World Book Encyclopedia. They had these color plates of the great painters, and it went on for about 6 pages. That was it. But I loved those pages in there, and that led me on to more. And it was like a Vermeer, Jan Vermeer of the.
Oh, he was the best in the world.
Yeah, and he used the camera obscura.
Yeah,
he would trace the image, but he really got the painting down.
There's a documentary that shows that. No, of all the artists, he's the one that they cannot replicate as easily as the others.
Well, there have been. Some,
I mean, it's been a challenge.
There have been some very good forgeries, but not. But his stuff, actually, his technique is similar to what they used to use on the wall of McDonald's. I kid you not. McDonald's
like grease off the.
No, well, they used to have some really neat illustrations on wallpaper that they plastered in McDonald's in the 70s, I think. And it had like a train and a landscape. And it had a really neat painter style, and they used no lines, only color, and just those guys would paint just pure bits of color, and they didn't use any lines to delineate. And Vermeer did the same thing, and he paints with light. Yeah. He knew that there is no real black line. You do when you make a drawing, but when you paint a picture in color, where your face ends and that begins, there's no line. It's just the end of that color and another color. And he realized that, and he did the woman with the red hat. Yes, and that's up. You can see it in the National Gallery in Washington.
You know,
and it's amazing, and they're very small.
All those museums in Washington are, they're free to go to them. And I tell everybody, it's easy in Virginia because we're so close to Washington, but I tell people all the way in Idaho, hey, your taxpayers' money goes to those museums, and you can see all the probably in a small area, probably more great art anywhere is in Washington. Go to it and see all that stuff.
Abraham Lincoln used to hang out over there. He loved the Smithsonian, the original building. He'd go over there and just hang out and get away from things, and he loved it.
He should have spent more time in the museum and less time at the theater.
Yeah, Ford's Theater was not a good choice, but.
So I would go to. In fact, when I've said this before, when I go to a city I've never been to before, I always go to their art museum because that's such just. But you only should see no more than
Philly
2 museums in one day.
Philly, I want to get
because your eyes just.
I want to get to the Philly Museum in Philadelphia. Yeah, it's supposed to be a really good one.
They used to have that statue. I think they still do the statue of Rocky in front of it.
That's right.
A friend of mine told me, he's from Philadelphia, very, very smart guy, and he told me, there's Dave, and he told me that it just pained him that every time he would see tourists go to that museum, take a picture in front of the Rocky statue, and never buy a ticket to go in to see the great art.
Oh, they really do have a Rocky statue.
Yeah. No, it was put up for the movie, and he had a statue made of himself, and he gave it. He donated it to the city of Philadelphia, and they first said, "We don't want it."
Stone called him up and said, I got gaps, you got gaps. Together we should fill gaps. You got a gap on the outside of your museum. I'll put the statue there.
And then they said. Then all the fans and tourists said, "No, we want the Rocky statue." So all right. So I think for a while they had it in front of the museum, and then they moved it to the Philadelphia Spectrum, which was everything kind of. And then they moved it back to the.
Everything kind of starts with pop culture, but then after it gets. I had a. Hey, do what I did when I was a DJ. I was a rock and roll DJ for a while, Usually I was Crazy Keith from high atop the Heckler building overlooking the beautiful Kmart parking lot, Batman and Robin. Hey, I was coming off the wall. Yeah. But that was done on Saturday afternoon. But sometimes they would give me a gig and say, look, I need you to do the 1 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, to conserve energy, I changed my persona.
Yes.
And I called myself The Rock. And I did like Stallone for 4 hours. And it saved your energy.
Yes.
It's okay. We just heard...
keep it low.
Yeah, we just heard Rock Around the Clock. And now we're going to keep rocking around the clock with another selection. And you go on. And my brother actually heard that on his way to work. He said, one of the few compliments I ever got from my brother, you know, you got to treasure those things.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I used to listen to that.
I didn't know it was you.
Yeah, it was The Rock. Yeah.
A lot of times I'd appear on a TV show and not use my real name. And friends of mine...
But we know your name.
No, but people would call up that were friends of mine. And I'd always act like they were just a caller. I'd never say...
Oh, you mean on radio?
On radio, but you'd hear them on the you'd hear them on the air.
They didn't.
You'd hear their voice on the air, and I immediately recognized their voice.
Yeah.
But this is how I did it. I always said, "Well, thanks for calling, caller," or something like that. And then later on, I'll see that person and say, "I called you up on the show, and you didn't even know it was me." I said, "Yeah, I knew it all the time. It was you." What do you think? I was born under a rock or something? Under this rock?
And you
the rock.
You get a few fans who are your loyal fans who always call you.
Oh, yeah.
And they're always kind of strange. They're kind of strange people, but you love them, you know.
I had a radio show where a guy...
They're nice people.
A guy called me up, and he actually said this. It wasn't on the air, but he said this to me. He goes, I think you're the best radio DJ I've ever heard. You're better than Wolfman Jack. You're better than Cousin Brucey. You're better than Shane or whoever was in Richmond and everything.
Oh, my God.
And then he said... I said, well, thank you. I really appreciate that you called me like that. I was only like in my early 20s. And then he says, can you talk to my wife? She absolutely hates you. So I said, yeah, put her on. Maybe I could change her mind.
How did
that go? I tried to. She just didn't like.
We had at WRGF. And before that, WENZ AM, when I was there, we had a real WKRP experience. Yeah. It was like WKRP, the TV show, only a cheaper version of that. A lot of those same things. We didn't drop turkeys out of helicopters, but almost.
One of the best shows ever.
Yeah, and we had, we'd go to the State Fair and have a booth, and our sponsor was House Archery Hush Puppy Mix. We had House Archer and we'd have Hush Puppy battles at the State Fair because we had a lot of samples, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Get it as Hush Puppy battle.
Oh, I love those remotes and everything. I wish I did more of them. In fact, I hated being at the station. I just liked being out and about.
We had a Herb Tarlick character. Yeah. I mean, the sales manager.
Oh, yeah.
He was a country guy. He did not like rock and roll. He liked country, and he wore boots with snakeskin on it and all this kind of cool stuff. He says, "Come on, let me just throw in a few country songs on there." But it was an experience. And there were girls.
Oh yeah,
and their characters walking in. Yeah.
Not only do half the people who work in a radio station hate the music that you play, most of the DJs hate the music. They're told by they don't fall in love with. With the council.
Well, nowadays it's a lot worse than it used to be because everything's automated and you got to pre-program it, and they got it it's all corporatized. But back then,
it was fun.
We had a big pile of records, and you could bring in your own records as long as you kept to the format.
Yeah,
we were 50s, 60s, and 70s rock and roll and soul.
Yeah,
and some novelty records. And we had a clock, a big cardboard clock. You're supposed to follow the clock and say from this quarter. Well, we didn't really, but it was a quarter hour. You're supposed to do soul from the. No, this was just company policy.
Oh.
You're supposed to do this kind of music from this quarter hour to that quarter. And nobody really did that. But we were good. We got really good. And some guy, the big guy that owned WCVE, called me up when I was on the air one day and wanted to buy the station.
There you go.
But he didn't do it.
Just sold it to him.
Well, let's see. I do have part interest in this.
I'm glad you called me. You called the right guy.
Yeah. But I used to, on Saturday afternoon, I'd do a lot of kind of comedy stuff, and I'd throw in, and then I'd play the Dr. Demento.
There you go.
And I still have some of those old broadcast records over there that they'd send you the show on vinyl. Yeah. And I'd play it on Saturday, and we had commercial breaks and all that. So the show was pressed on vinyl like a record. Yeah. And everything was needle drop. And to me, that was a real art to just throwing down a record and needle dropping. Yeah. And then throwing in a commercial, which was on a cart. It was like the forerunner of 8-track. That's right. Tape. And you're riding that thing like a little hurricane, you know. And it was great. And you had the microphone and the phone. You pick up the phone. Yeah. And you'd handle the pots. We called them pots. That's right. You go up and down on the volume. Great big knobs. Yeah. We called them pots. And the pot would be for this record or that turntable. You had 2 turntables, and you could fade in from one to the other, and you do needle drop. And you got really good at dropping that needle at exactly the right point. But now it's all CDs and pre-programmed.
My radio's covered in spit now. I can't stand radio.
I know.
That's why we do a live show.
That's why we're here, to provide you an alternate choice of entertainment, whatever the hell it is. And I hope you enjoy.
You know any Marilyn Monroe songs?
You know, I was
Heat Wave, or
I was listening to those today. I posted a documentary, and I wish I'd memorized it, but my heart, I was at a party in Canada, animation party, and there was this really pretty blonde that I've been flirting with, and she'd been flirting with me.
Oh, right.
And at the party, she got up on the piano where I was playing, and wanted me to play "My Heart Belongs to Daddy," but I couldn't remember the damn tune. I still got
I think Mary Martin had the hit with that.
I don't know, man.
But Marilyn Monroe,
you got too much knowledge.
Sang I know she sang that. She sang Heat Wave in a movie.
I want to be tropical heat wave.
What's Some Like It Hot? She sings something Running Wild.
But Running Wild. Da da da.
Yeah.
I was going to tell a story, but I better not. But anyway, Marilyn's
been gone a while. You could.
Oh,
there's no secrets
she's
anymore.
Still behind. Well, this was more about my mother, but never. I told you, never mind, Mom.
Terrible what happened to her.
My mother?
No. Well, yeah, but
my
Marilyn,
mother was a very beautiful
Marilyn.
woman. But anyway, she lived to be 101.
Wow.
But not Marilyn, of course. She was killed.
We're just kids.
Yeah, killed at 35 or something.
Yeah.
And there's a documentary which I posted not too long before this show, called Marilyn Declassified, and they've come out with even more stuff of was she involved with Bobby Kennedy, and then there was the mob, and then the CIA and Angleton, and then even UFOs.
Oh man!
That JFK had told her about stuff the government knows about aliens, and then she was going to talk.
Oh, I really talk with Marilyn, and then she was going to tell her.
You got to read the thing. You got to watch the thing. There's a lot of neat stuff, but I'm still convinced with Sam Giancana, he was behind everything.
Do you know?
I think he killed Kennedy and all the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to kill the mob. It was kind of wild, but because the mob helped them get elected in Illinois, and then they turned around and was going after the mob. Not very smart.
The Attorney General went after them.
I applaud him for trying to do that, but the mob has just outlived itself anyway, and they're no longer in business, more or less. But other people do that stuff.
I don't actually.
The internet does it.
I think it was.
But that's a good documentary, Marilyn Declassified.
It makes a lot of entertainment. But I always feel that I don't know about Marilyn, but I do know that the Kennedy assassination. I believe And I believe it, and I believe the Warren Commission. I believe that there was one guy, one crazy nut, can cause a lot of trouble, and everything that Oswald did could happen. But
well, you can look.
But then, I mean, if you try to cure it if you're trying to fix it like a Columbo episode,
there was a third gunman. There was a grassy knoll. Just look at the Zapruder film, and you can see him doing this back into the front. And then Newman spit on him, and all
the movie
I love
is
that
very.
Seinfeld routine.
The movie is, in fact, that actor is in the JFK movie that Oliver Stone made. That shows every kind of. It's a 3-hour film, and it shows every.
I haven't seen that film.
Everything that the theorists, the conspiracy theorists claim.
Well, I lived through all that.
Now, as for Marilyn,
but there was more than just Oswald.
Yeah,
involved. I'm certain. And then, why was Oswald shot by a mafia guy? By
Jack Ruby.
Jack Ruby.
Yes.
Why?
How did he have such an easy time of doing it?
I still remember the exact intonation of the guy on TV saying, "He's been shot. He's been shot. Yeah. Lee Harvey Oswald's been shot." And the guy with the Stetson going,
never, and they didn't.
All these things are etched.
It's a good shot because he never. He didn't survive that shot, Oswald.
Are you old enough to remember Marilyn
that was
died?
Before.
Not Marilyn died. I remember, as one of those things, I remember where I was.
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
And the first time I was aware of Marilyn Monroe was when she died.
Yes.
And my friend, we were about 8 or 10, I don't know, 8. Anyway, we're kind of giggling. There was a Life magazine, this big picture of Marilyn Monroe, and everybody had been talking, you hear the name Marilyn Monroe, and to us, she looked like an old witch.
Yeah.
You know how when you're a little kid, some gorgeous woman looks old to you.
Yeah.
It's really strange. Like my second grade teacher, Ms. Carter, old lady Carter.
They're only in their 20s.
Yeah, she's the one that held me back, that kept me from going to see the chickens hatching out. I had to do my math.
Oh, I hate
old lady Carter. And I always thought of her that way. Then I went back to the yearbook, and I thought, oh, she's a real dish.
Young woman.
Things change.
A lot of them, they graduate when they're 23 years old or so, or 22, and then they become teachers. Yeah. And then they're not all that old, and they look like. And then you realize
they might wear their hair in a tight curl. But
now, Marilyn. Now, I think that's a great leap of faith if you think the Kennedys were involved in the death of Marilyn. But
well, no, they were having affairs with her.
Yeah.
And so that way, they weren't guilty. I don't believe they were guilty. Yeah. There's some suspicion or evidence to say that the CIA had her killed, but to shut her up from things she was going to say. You watch the documentary, it's either Angleton, who was the head of the CIA, ordered it, or else it was Sam Giancana. I tend to believe it was Sam Giancana who would do that sort. And there's quite a bit of evidence of Sam. Yeah. And everybody showed up at her house the day she was. It was like one of those Agatha Christie novels, And George came through the door and left footprints here, and then this other guy flew from the chandelier and all around the body, and there was a note left, and all these things just everywhere, and all this convergence of activity, and they even throw in aliens. Because
I did not.
Well,
I never heard of that thrown in.
This is the newest. This is the newest twist. But supposedly JFK, when he had his affair with her, told her some stuff about the aliens. Between him and her and Nixon and Jackie Gleason, there's a lot of miniseries material.
I tell you.
I still love the Jackie Gleason.
I don't know about now because everything seems to get credence on the internet, but certainly in those days, if she would have given a press conference talking about UFOs or even talking about sleeping with a Kennedy or something, they would have just thought she was a nut.
Well,
now there's a fan base that would believe that.
Yeah, but there's truth to that. But she was a big nut. She was a big star, and she was miffed, according to this, at the Kennedy boys for kind of using her and throwing her away, or kind of treating her a little, with a little bit less respect than she deserved. And she wanted to get back at them. Everybody wanted to get back at everybody else, especially Sam Giancana.
Do you know that
But you watch the thing. It's quite interesting.
Do you know that?
And it's a good song. They have a lady sing about JFK. It's a pop song.
At the time?
No, it's a new one.
A new one. Okay.
Wild. What's her name? Wild. Max Wild. No, Maxie Wild.
Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah,
a singer. Okay.
Yeah, she does a great song.
Okay, I'll look at it.
Maxie Wild. Yeah.
It's important to note that that the conspiracy theorists got into Joe DiMaggio's head, and he always felt guilty that he didn't treat her very well when they were married. So
he came in and managed the funeral. He
managed the funeral, had roses sent to her grave like every week or something because of. And he claims he was going to remarry her if she would have lived longer. But he blamed the Rat Pack, the Kennedys, the Mafia. He blamed all. I mean, he actually did believe what a lot of people.
Well, there was a perfect. There was a lot of perfect.
I don't think Arthur Miller does.
Perfect storm about weird stuff and trying to get Castro assassinated, and they really did all interact, and the evidence is quite compelling. And those were heady, strange times. Yeah. It was the '60s.
I know,
but and Frank Sinatra and all that, but he just kept singing doobie doobie doo, ba doobie doobie. One time on one of those recordings, I loved it. Frank, you could tell Frank was sick and tired of singing this song. You ever heard it? He did several versions of "Strangers in the Night."
Oh yeah.
But at the end, he would go.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, but at the end of the song, he fades off. Doobie doobie doo, da doobie doobie, doobie doobie da. He goes. He hits a da, a real clam. He hits a real flat note, and you know he's doing it on purpose. He's making a joke.
Do you know that
he's sick and tired of doing this song?
There was a singer, Perry Como. You know Perry Como. Perry Como. They used to bring.
What did Delaware?
He was with RCA.
What did Delaware?
and Sinatra, I think, was with Capitol Records. And at this point, and what happened was they would get these songs from Tin Pan Alley and stuff, and they would test market them with
redo an old song.
No, they would take new songs. These were new songs,
and
they would.
New
this is what I want to tell you. They would take them. Some of them came their way to Perry Como, and they said, "Listen, we're going before we give this to Sinatra. You have a chance to record this song. It's not a very good song, but we figure out it might be a big hit. So he'd record it. He'd look at it. This is like the word "Hot Diggity Dog Diggity," or songs like or "Papa Loves Mambo." And there's actually stories where he would record these songs, and he was the first guy to record these songs. He got them before Sinatra did, and he would right when it was over, he'd throw the sheet music at the wall and just walk out. And of course they already recorded it, and it became a big hit. Now. Then when he had a concert tour, they say, "We want to hear Papa Loves Mama. We want to hear Hot Diggity Dog. We want to hear all those crazy songs he sings." And so he figured out he was the first singer to actually take 10 songs and make a minute and a half medley out of them. So he'd get it all out of their way. So he could sing the songs he wanted to sing.
Now, Fat Smaller, the great Fat Smaller. And they throw him a lot of really bad songs. Yeah. Come on, Fats, do a cover of this. Oh, man, he would take a really stupid song, but he'd jazz it up and do a lot of jokes around it and come out great.
Yeah. Well, he actually was great.
No, but some of the songs they gave him to record weren't so great. But he would turn them into by heave, give me a piece of pie. Pull Leo. Oh yes, I love Fats, and he would take anything and make it good.
There was also. Do you remember the McGuire sisters?
Yeah,
they had a song called "Sincerely." They had a lot of hits.
Sincerely.
And this is back in the 50s. Not the Andrews sisters. The Andrews sisters were kind of plain-looking women who sang great.
Yeah. The
McGuire sisters were beautiful women,
and one of them had an affair with Frank.
with Sam Giancana.
That's right. That's the one.
And they had a big hit called Sugar.
But actually, I think her sister was better looking.
Well, the thing was that.
But yeah, you're right.
So these were pretty girls who were somewhat, they were all right singers, but they weren't great singers.
But
they were pretty girls. Now, Sam had an affair, not affair, he actually
married her.
No, it was a mistress. He had his wife.
Well, she had a big house in Las Vegas.
She has the biggest, she's still alive. She has the biggest house in Las Vegas.
That's a documentary.
Because she pretty much kept her mouth shut about all that went on.
It's a documentary where they interview her. She tells all.
She tells. Well, she doesn't tell all. She just tells that
enough.
Like 40 years later, and she was rewarded by the boys with a big mansion. There's a movie about it with John Turturro, Sam Giancana, and it also has Mary Louise Parker. Used to be on Weeds. She plays Phyllis McGuire.
But did they ever find Velma? That's what I want to know. I don't care about none of that stuff. I just want to find Velma.
The name of the movie is Sugar Time. Sugar in the morning,
sugar in the evening, sugar at supper.
That was their big hit.
Well, that takes
the McGuire sisters.
That was when I was a little kid, and
wasn't that a great song?
And I like Rosemary Clooney singing.
Wasn't she great?
Mockingbird Hill and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And she sang these great children's records for Disney, which I still have. And I grew up. There was a big box of records that my mom had already bought for my brother, hand me down. This big cardboard box full of these 78s, and we'd slap them down on the machine, and I'd be dancing all over the room. Records, I'd be stepping on the records. Well, I got pretty good. I didn't step on the records, but they were all over the floor. And she did a thing.
Rosemary Clooney.
Rosemary Clooney did Alice in Wonderland. Songs.
Isn't she great?
Dun 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 dun.
I met Rosemary Clooney when she came to Richmond near the end.
Really?
One of her last concerts. Yeah. And
Come on over to my
house. Yeah. She became famous because she I think she was bipolar. And she spent some time in the booby hatch, I guess is like a better word.
Well, people don't realize when you do talented stuff, you use a lot more of your brain. It's the old thing I've talked about before about like a computer, a Mac. If you're doing Photoshop or one of those CGI computer generation, audio, video, anything that you generate so much material to recreate audio or visual, it takes a lot more out of you. And the same thing happens with the human brain.
Yeah, of course.
And you go,
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to wrap things up.
Yeah, it's like I was looking for my my spigot.
I'll find it.
Anyway, it's like a spigot. Oh, let me tell you about the spigot.
All right.
Wait, can you find the spigot? Was it back there? Oh, is it back here? No. Anyway, my dad.
I'm gonna knock over everything. But
I don't know
I'm afraid if I'm gonna move.
I want to put this out to the public. If anybody can find this TV show, a weird old TV show, I suspect that my dad was making the whole thing up. He was a very, very good storyteller. But we were driving up the country in this old used Plymouth station wagon. He had bought this old thing to rattle around in. You go back and forth to work, let my mom drive the good car. But we'd go up the country in this old Plymouth, and he told me this story about this. It was like something, one of those cheap Boris Tales of Tomorrow, one of these weird shows, like pre-Twilight Zone.
It was Thriller.
Yeah, it was like that, but this
was an hour-long type.
I know, but these were more like half hours. Yeah. They made, and it was like one of these weird. It comes on TV. You don't know where it's. Whoa! Early in the morning, like 6 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning, and this guy gets up out of bed and he goes to the mirror and he sees he's got a spigot stuck on his head. I got a spigot on my head. What's it doing there? He tries to take it off. Tries everything to get it off. All this problem. And you drag
those phony eyes.
Yeah, you drag out. It was a spigot.
Like a third eye.
It was a spigot with a nozzle thing.
I've seen that.
And you drag the story out. He tries everything to get it off. Finally, he decides to turn the spigot.
Yeah.
And of course his brain and he dies.
Does blood and guts come out?
No, gray matter. Gray matter comes out.
Oh, and he goes, ooh. That would have freaked me out as a kid. If
he freaked me out. We're driving down Route 6, at 45 miles an hour. Well, that was my dad. My dad told a lot of jokes. He could tell a good weird story, and I really suspect he made the whole thing up. But if anybody has ever seen that TV show,
it was a TV show. Okay.
Well, according to my dad,
okay,
he was telling me this. You know, I'd be writing down. He'd be telling me stories from Mercury Theater back in the 30s. He told me about the hitchhiker.
The hitchhiker
going to California.
Yeah.
Which was Carradine, John Carradine playing that part. And later on the Twilight Zone, it was Ingrid Stevens. But
yeah, that was. Really
but the original radio one is even eerier. It's like going to California. This whole hitchhiker.
Yeah.
And the guy's going across the country, and he keeps running into the same hitchhiker.
That's why we don't pick up hitchhikers.
That's
because
right.
Because of that story.
And they always look like John Carradine. Who wants to pick them up? But if they look like Ingrid Stevens, yes. But, so, though that wraps up about, I think, one of the...
All right, this was quite an entertaining hour of Van Allen's Attic.
Let's have a laser party.
My name is Kaye Lazar. This is the wonderful Keith Van Allen. Play us out.
Gotta get that thing fixed.
Sounds great.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Funny.